Well, it's a big struggle everywhere, this way we have to articulate our, let's say, historical identity as a collectivity and the others, new immigrants or religious ethnic minorities. Of course, Quebec is an interesting case because it's considered in between Europe and North America. In the rest of North America, there's a lot of mix. It's but in Quebec, the particularity is that we are still a huge majority with French ancestry and with Catholic roots. It's over 75% of the population. So it creates a national consciousness, a way to comprehend ourselves as a majority in our province with the same origins, same way of thinking, same language, and same religious culture, because not all Quebecers of French origin are practicing Catholic, of course, but Catholicism is really, it's related to this history and the way we are and the way we think in many ways. So naturally, like Europe, we have to combine this national consciousness with a way to welcome the others as part of us, so we are struggling with that. In Quebec, there's more and more diversity, so I think our society is becoming more and more flexible, more pluralist, but it takes time. It's normal because of demographic reality. Personally, I'm very in favor of respecting some aspects of our history, of our identity, including religious aspects, but without discriminating minorities or individuals who don't share for some reasons these aspects of our history. So in this way, I'm quite in line with an open model of secularism in Quebec. So the Amselem judgment is very interesting and very important, as most of the experts already know. They suggest a very subjective definition of religion because they don't want to interfere in religious doctrines. They say the content of religious doctrines, this is not our business. But what we can do, if we can evaluate, is if what the individual is reclaiming is important for him or her because of his subjective beliefs. So I agree with this. But where I don't agree is that they say, well, how can we evaluate the sincerity of the individual? So they say we can evaluate it because he's sincere. We can, and if he seems to be really involved in this belief, and so on and on and on. But what the court doesn't realize, I think, it's that most of their judgment were made on very standardized beliefs and practice. The Sukkot, for the Jewish family in this case, was very important for the Jewish people. In other cases, the Kirpan was very important for a Sikh, and on and on. So what I say is that it's not true that they never referred to the doctrine. Examining this aspect of the subjective belief, which is most of the time related to a religious doctrine, so they refer to the religious doctrine. So what I mainly said, and I argued this during the Bouchard-Taylor Commission, because among the experts we had this discussion. I said, listen, for people, leaders in small or big organizations on the field, if they have to evaluate, they don't have the resources of the Supreme Court. And it's unfair to tell them, don't take the doctrine into account, because it could help them in some cases. If it's part of the doctrine, at least to have one element to helping measure the sincerity. Yes, it is present in the doctrine of the individual. And then they can ask to the imam, to the priest, to the pastor, or any religious leader, is this individual who is practicing, who is pretending to practice, and who is saying that this practice is very important for him or her, is it true that the believer is practicing it regularly and it's very important for her or him? And doing so, well, they are taking into account the religious group and the doctrine itself, because it is important for the individual himself or herself. So that's my argument. So yes, I agree with the subjective definition of religion, but I disagree with the way the Supreme Court is discarding the doctrine, like we cannot touch it because it's not relevant. It can be relevant if it is for the subjective beliefs of the individual.